Okay.
Put it on presentation mode.
So,
Yes, it's good.
yeah. Okay. So I think it's also recording, but I removed the first part. So
Yeah, it's recording.
first of all, I say hello to you all, and thank you so much for your attendance. It's my pleasure to have you. It's a good getting together today. So I'm so excited about it. So I'm going to talk about one important aspect of language teaching, which is called grammar teaching strategies. And first of all, I would like to start with the definition of grammar. What is grammar? Grammar is actually the description of the structure of the language. And how linguistic units such as the words and phrases are combined to produce sentences in a language. So this is the definition for grammar, as you all know. Now, one very, very important question is, why do we teach grammar? Or should we teach grammar or not? The answer to the second question is absolutely yes. We need to teach grammar. But why? Because, you know, for native speakers of, let's say, English language, and we are focusing on English language only, for native speakers, grammar is something which is acquired intuitively or unconsciously without any sort of instruction involved. But when we talk about EFL learners, when EFL learners are involved, this kind of thing is kind of conscious effort, and it needs conscious effort from the part of the learners. So we need to instruct our learners. We need to teach our learners. Without teaching, grammar learning would be impossible. So it's kind of conscious effort. Now, generally speaking, there are two general approaches to grammar teaching. One is called deductive approach, and the other one is called inductive approach. Deductive approach involves rule presentation by the teacher and learners' production of the language based on the rules. In other words, the language rules, let's say English language rules, are presented by the teacher, and then it is applied by the learners through making sentences or through production of the language based on these rules. But as far as inductive approach is concerned, the rules is inferred and kind of discovered by the learners. So there is no rule presentation from the beginning. It's just giving some examples, and the rules are inferred from that example. So the former, which is deductive approach, is a kind of teacher-centered one, while the latter is more learner-centered. And one of the advantages of deductive approach is that it is more time-consuming, time-saving, and more appropriate for lower level learners. But inductive kind of approach is more appropriate for the learners who have a sort of a grammar base to be built on. So now I'm gonna focus on some of the strategies and techniques that we can apply in order to teach grammar. I'm sure a lot of you, or all of you, have at one point in your life have taught grammar, whether to children or to adults, grown-ups, whether at beginner level or more advanced level. So you all have these experiences of teaching grammar. So I'm going to just remind you or refresh your memory of some of the strategies. Most of them you may know, but some of them might be new and novel for you. So it's a kind of attention raising or consciousness raising about these strategies. So let's go over them one by one. The first one is called direct explanation. So through a direct explanation, the rules of the grammar are explained directly to the students in the learner's L1 or in their mother tongue. Of course, using L1 is in the beginning level of language learning when the students are at elementary levels. But as the students get more advanced, this procedure can be done through the L2, through the medium of English, for a higher level, higher proficiency learners. So the second one is discovering the grammar or implicit approach, as we already talked about. So during this grammar discovering, rather than explaining the rules, we as teachers give a text to the students. This text contains many instances of the target form. For example, let's say a text with some regular verbs in past form, and then we ask the students to underline all the verbs and tell you what they notice, what kind of common thing do they observe in these verbs. So their consciousness is raised. They can notice the verbs ending in ed, and they can infer the root or discover the root in this way. Another strategy is to drawing timelines, and you have kind of illustration of timeline here. So it is also a useful strategy, especially when you are referring to different aspects of time. The most basic form of a timeline is actually an horizontal line with a point in the middle indicating now or the present time. And then on the left-hand side, we have the past time. On the right-hand side, we have the future time, and we can put different spots on this line to show different tenses. And also, we can show continuous actions through wavy line. We indicate it through wavy lines. So the next strategy is using pictures or drawings, which is very illustrative. For example, you can draw a picture of a person dreaming of a future ambition to introduce the verb to be going to. And this is a very good one, especially if you're a good painter like me. So next one is asking concept questions or to check understanding. I have given you an example sentence. It goes like this: he left university in 2008. So here are, yes, anybody saying anything? Okay. So actually the point here in this sentence is to introduce the irregular verb form left. So the kind of concept questions can be something like this. The teacher asks, is he at university now? The reply is no by the students. Another question, was the action in the past? The students say yes. So normally in kind of concept questions, we are asking yes or no questions, because this concept questions actually occur in lower level proficiency learners. So that is the other strategy. Next, we have using tables. Using tables is actually a very, very good method of illustrating grammatical. I said it is very illustrative. It is concise. It is actually good when they want to have it for their future reference. So as you can see, we have an example here, a contrast of verb group of English active and passive voices. So you have 3 columns for all the verb tenses, active voice and passive voice. So in this very little space, we have included a lot of information, which is also good for future references. Okay, the other one is reusing objects to present the meaning. It is a very quick method. For example, if you want to present the comparative form, like somebody is taller than, or shorter than somebody else, you can easily ask two students to stand up and compare their heights. For example, we can say, let's say Miss Javeria is taller than Miss Adir. Okay, it is very easy, it is very fun, and students like it. Similarly, you can put different objects in different positions in the classroom, and you can teach prepositions like in, on, under, so on and so forth with this method. Okay. Next one comes contrasting structures or showing the difference in meaning. So two sentences, and he has simply to tell you the difference. They can work in groups or pairs. They can discuss about the difference, and they can give you their ideas. In this way, their consciousness is raised about the grammar. So next strategy is choosing the correct sentence. Here again, we have two rather similar sentences. I've lived here since 3 years, and I've lived here for 3 years. So the difference between this strategy and the previous one is that here the students should find the mistake in this in these two in one of these sentences. One is correct, the other one is not correct. And the next one is teaching grammar communicatively. We should all the time encourage students to use language in meaningful communication. This is the main goal of language learning and grammar learning specifically, to be able to use it in communication and discussion. So we have other strategies like using group activities like role playing or discussions. And these activities are specifically good and so useful for shy students because, you know, most of the time in our classes, we have some students who are shy and they are reluctant, unwilling to participate in individual activities. So let's involve them in group tasks or pair tasks, in group activities. So that helps them a lot. There are also other strategies like dictoglossing, text reconstruction tasks. Dictoglossing might be new for you, a new term for you. I'm gonna elaborate on that. It involves reading a text which is actually written by a English native speaker. This text is read orally for the students. They just listen to the text and don't write down, don't put down anything. So they just listen to the text. This text involves the target grammatical points that we are going to teach the students. So this text is read once and then the students just listen. Again, the teacher reads this text for the second time, and this time the students should put down some key terms and key words as far as they understand. And then the teacher reads the text for the third time with the normal speed. And then the students try to gather these key points, gather the ideas, they try to discuss about the content, and they come up with another reconstructed text involving the target forms. Text reconstruction is a rather similar task with one difference. In dictoglossing, the text is read orally, but in text reconstruction task, the text is given to the learners and they start reading it, and then the text is collected from the learners and they need to reconstruct it in their own words. Still, we have other strategies like textual enhancement, in which the text is highlighted by bolding or by capitalization, by color coding, and by underlining. So in this way, we have our students noticing the structure unconsciously. Okay, so there are some suggestions here for you in order to teach grammar. So the first one is avoid lecturing. You know, Most of the time, students get so bored after listening to your sole lecturing for over 20 minutes. So try to make it short, as short as 10 minutes, and make a change from one activity to another activity. So all the time plan for quick changes in your task and exercises that you're giving to the learners. And all the time try to exploit class time in interactive activities. You know, books, course books have so many exercises and tasks. Don't just waste class time doing them all. You can just do some samples and put the bulk of the task and activities for their homework or as an assignment. And use the class time instead for more interactive and communicative activities. And then try to offer variety in your grammar class, like discussion, research presentation, role plays, so on and so forth. And as the last suggestion, tailor your class to your students. You know, even if you have successfully taught a particular grammar class before with certain students, you should look for new and interesting ways all the time to teach with new students, because students come to your class with different age, different styles, different individual differences. So these are my suggestions. So now, before we finish, I have this question from you, because I'm sure all of you have taught grammar. So can you just think of any other strategies that you have applied so far in your classes and it has been successful? Because this is a workshop, I really want to have your ideas. If you have any idea, please unmute your microphones. I would be glad to hear them. So I'm waiting. Hello?
Yes, go.
Yes.
Hello.
I'm waiting.
Oh, yes, we have used role play sometimes.
Yes.
Doctor, how about using role play?
Yes, of course. I actually mentioned about this role play. It's very useful. So I all the time do it in my classes.
Okay. Can I have a question, please?
Yes, sure.
Okay,
Doctor,
I have two questions.
answer my question first, and then I answer your question, doctor.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't get it.
Because we really want your idea. My question was about kind of activities or strategies other than the points that I gave you that you have applied in your classes and they were successful. So can you think of anything that you can share with us?
Time strategy?
Grammar teaching strategies, doctor, when you are applying in your grammar class. More particularly, doctor, because you are an expert in computer and online teaching. So can you think of any online activities that we can apply in our grammar classes?
Yeah, I have one which is find it, I just didn't practice in a whole class, but I find it useful applying it with my research team.
Sure.
It's a students research team. They use, after doing everything, after, after writing one essay, then putting it through Grammarly. You know Grammarly?
Yes.
The best thing of Grammarly is not that it's correct for you. Actually, it categorizes your main issues of importance that you have to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
For example, you have a problem of clarity, or there is a problem of punctuation, propositions, or it's a grammar structure, grammar issues. So it statically, you analyze a longer period of mistakes, then put them in categories. This is
That's
what I think.
perfect, doctor. Yes, I have seen people who are using Grammarly, but is it okay for all different levels of proficiency, or you recommend it for higher levels?
Even I think even for students, it is. It is. Actually, it releases the pressure or the dependence on the teacher, number one. Number two, as I told you, I mean, gradually using it longer time, it would send you report. After you finish the editing, it will send report to your email that this week, this is how, I mean, your writing, is it still the same? Where exactly the level, and what are the main complaints you suffer from?
That's perfect. Thank you very much, doctor. That's a perfect idea. Thank you for sharing. And now I'm ready for your questions, sir.
No, we can leave it to the end. It's okay. Sorry.
Okay. So any other suggestions for grammar teaching? Anything you have practiced? Anybody? Especially those colleagues, those dear colleagues from the foundation, can really give us their suggestion, because grammar teaching for them is of crucial importance.
She's saying I want to say something. Sometimes I said games, but in chat. Say something, Habibi.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. Your voice is not that clear. Hello?
Say something.
Okay. So I guess you don't have any more suggestions. So thank you so much for your attendance. It was my pleasure to meet you all here. So Dr. Said, I guess you can ask me your question.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I hope it was helpful.
Indeed.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Can I ask my question now?
Yes, sure, doctor. Go on, please.
It's just a small question in two parts. Number one, how we can reduce the teacher centered learning using while teaching grammar. This is number one, not through, I mean, because it's, as you said in the beginning, it's most of not learner centered, it's a student centered. And question number two, which is, I mean, based on experience, which one is better? Can we teach it through implicit or illicit? So it's asking them to deduct the language, the grammar themselves, or we should just teach them it?
Okay, thank you very much for your good questions, doctor. Actually, it 100% depends on the context of language teaching. If you are dealing with beginners, normally teacher-centeredness goes higher. So you need to talk more. But for more advanced learners, this teacher talking time is less and less. So based on my own experience, when I first started language learning, my teacher used to talk all the time, and I was completely silent, didn't say any words. But when I was doing my PhD, we had classes up to 3 hours, and for 3 hours non-stop we were talking, and not even one word was uttered by our leader here. And this is level on 8 and 12. Is whether second productive nor speaking, we use a mixture of both of these strategies. The point that I forgot to tell you is that we don't focus on one strategy or one approach only. We can shift from one to the other, depending on the condition, depending on the situation, depending on our students. So normally deductive works for some students, but not for the others. But as a general rule of thumb, it is said in teacher education, it is said and it is recommended that inductive teaching is better for more advanced learners, because they have something at hand in their background some basic points about the grammar is already been built. So we are just adding to that building and put more bricks on it. So I hope I have answered your question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Yes.
You're welcome. So if any other questions? So thank you so much for joining, and see you later. Bye-bye,
See you.
everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Shadab.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye
you very
bye.
much.
Thank you,
Stay
Doctor.
safe. And thank you so much for from the foundation department for joining. It was my pleasure.
Thank you,
Thank
Doctor.
you. Thank you.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Take care.